The sky over Dust World was dry and red. Wind blew fine dust across sharp rocks. The planet had no trees, no rivers, only sand, stone, and silence. A small human scout ship fell through the clouds like a broken bird. Its engines gave one last scream before crashing into a rocky hill. Smoke rose into the sky. Inside the wreck, Tomel opened his eyes slowly. Pain hit him like a hammer. He looked down and saw his left arm bent the wrong way. Bone was out of place. His face stayed calm, but sweat ran down his neck. He sat up, carefully. Sparks popped above his head. He grabbed his pack and dragged himself outside the wreck. The light was harsh. The air was dry. Tomel didn't speak. He looked at his broken arm. He pulled a metal pipe from the wreck. He took a deep breath, placed the pipe between his teeth, and with one fast move snap, he set the bone. Pain shot through his body like fire. His hand shook, but his face stayed calm. From behind a rock, someone gasped. Tomel looked up fast. A tall figure stood there. Not human. She had smooth silver skin, large black eyes, and soft lines running along her arms. She wore a long dark robe with glowing lines. "Did you just fix yourself?" she asked, shocked. Tomel nodded. "Had to." She stared. "You broke your bone. You moved it, just like that." He picked up a claw from his bag and tied his arm tightly. "Yes." She walked closer, but slowly, as if he might be dangerous. "I am Riva of the Narari." "Tomel," he said. "Human." Riva looked down at his arm. "Humans can heal." "This way." Tomel smiled, but his face looked tired. "We don't wait to break. We build back stronger." "I upgrade when I break." Riva blinked. She didn't understand those words, but she had never seen a living being fix a broken bone like that alone, without tools, without fear. "Follow me," she said. "You will not survive long out here." Tomel followed Riva across the rocky ground. She moved fast but silent. Her people, the Narari, were known for grace, not strength. Soon they reached a hidden cave behind sharp cliffs. Inside, a soft blue light glowed from the walls. Machines hummed quietly. A few other Narari watched from the shadows. They looked at Tomel with wide eyes and nervous faces. "He is injured," one said. "He should rest." Riva shook her head. "He fixed himself." The Narari whispered among themselves. Some didn't believe it. Others looked at Tomel like he was something strange. Tomel sat by the wall and checked his arm. The bone was set, but the skin was still bruised. He took out a small device from his pack. It gave off a soft light and started scanning the bone. "What is that?" Kello, a young Narari, asked. "Bone patcher," Tomel said. "Helps it grow faster." Kello leaned closer. "Can you teach me?" Riva pulled Kello back. "No, he is not like us. Our way is different." Tomel said nothing. He just kept working on his arm. He wrapped it again and made a brace out of metal and cloth. Later, Riva brought him food, dried roots, and water. "We don't eat like this," Tomel said. "But I'll try." He ate without complaint. "You show no fear," Riva said quietly. Tomel looked up. "Fear wastes time. Pain tells us something's wrong. Then we fix it. In my world," Riva said, "pain is something to avoid, to touch broken skin, to reset bone. That is unclean." Tomel tilted his head. "Then how do you survive?" "In war, we do not fight. We hide. We call for help." Tomel looked around. "Help isn't coming soon." She was silent. That night, a dust storm shook the cave. The entrance filled with wind and sand. Tomel helped seal it with metal panels and cloth. His arm hurt, but he didn't stop. The Narari watched him. Some began to whisper again. "He works like a builder," one said. "He does not wait for healing." Another added. "He changes himself when hurt," Kello said. "That is power." Riva looked at Tomel as he worked. His face was hard, his steps firm. Even in pain, he kept moving, fixing, building. Something inside her started to shift. The next morning, Tomel stepped outside to check the shipwreck. Riva followed him. "You should rest," she said. "Can't. I need parts. Need to call my people." She didn't stop him. She just watched. He found wires, fuel cells, and a broken signal dish. His hands worked fast. He cut, shaped, and connected wires. His injured arm moved slower, but still worked. You act like pain is nothing. Riva said. No, Tomo replied. Pain means I'm still alive. Inside the Narari cave, the light glowed soft and blue. Machines on the walls gave off a quiet hum. It was peaceful, but the air felt heavy. The Narari were still watching Tomo like he was something strange, something not normal. Tomo sat near the fire. His left arm was in a metal brace. It hurt, but he didn't show it. He sharpened a long metal rod, turning it into a spear. Riva sat across from him. She watched his every move, her eyes full of curiosity and confusion. You fix metal like you fix your body, she said. Tomo gave a small nod. Both are tools. Tools break, then we repair them. Same for bones. The other Narari sat quietly nearby. Most kept their distance. But one of them, young Kello, moved closer. Can you show me how to fix a broken thing? Kello asked. Tomo looked at Riva. She didn't answer. So he said, what kind of thing? Kello held out a broken scanner. The screen was cracked. Wires were hanging out. Tomo took it, examined the wires, and began to work. With a tiny light from his pack and a few tools, he started connecting the parts again. The Narari whispered, he works like a machine. He doesn't even look at instructions. Is that how all humans are? Tomo didn't speak. His hands moved fast. In 10 minutes, the scanner beeped and the screen lit up. Kello's eyes went wide. It works. Tomo smiled a little. Just needed power and clean wires. The elders didn't look happy. One of them, named Vecker, stood up. We must not follow the human, he said. We are Narari. We do not copy outsiders. He helped us, Kello replied. He is dangerous. Vecker said. He breaks himself, then calls it upgrading. That is not our way. Riva said nothing. Her eyes stayed on Tomo. That night, Tomo walked outside the cave. He looked up at the stars. The air was cold and dry. His ship still lay broken. Near the hill, smoke had stopped rising, but it was still useless. He missed the smell of earth, the voices of his crew, the sound of music, but he didn't complain. Riva joined him quietly. She stood beside him, looking up at the stars. Are you alone? She asked. Tomo nodded. For now. Will more humans come? If the signal works, yes. But it may take time. She looked at his arm. You said, you upgrade when you break. What does that mean? Tomo thought for a moment. Humans used to fear pain. We used to stop when we got hurt. But space is hard. War is harder. So we learned to push past limits. Our doctors gave us bone boosters, skin healers, even memory patches. Now, when we break, we don't just heal. We grow stronger. Riva stared at him. We were taught pain is danger. We were told to stay safe. That's not wrong, Tomo said. But safety can make you weak. Sometimes, pain teaches better than peace. Riva was silent for a long time. She touched a small scar on her leg. I fell when I was a child. It hurt. My mother cried more than I did. They kept me in a room for days. I never climbed again. Tomo looked at her. Maybe you should have. Climbed again. The next day, food ran low in the cave. The Narari had a few dried roots and energy packs left. Their power was dropping. The machine started shutting down one by one. Tomo stood and stretched his arm. It still hurt, but he could move it better now. He looked at the others. We need more food and fuel. Our supply drones are gone, Riva said. We are stuck, Tomo grabbed his spear. Then we hunt. Hunt, Riva looked shocked. There's nothing here but dust and rock. There's always something, he said. Kello ran to join him. I'll go too. Riva wanted to say no, but she didn't. She followed them out. They walked far from the cave, over hills and through canyons. Tomo showed them how to look for tracks in the dust. He spotted tiny hole signs of ground crawlers, using nets made from ship wire. They caught to large crawlers, ugly creatures with hard shells and strong legs. They are full of protein, Tomo said. Back at the cave, he cooked the meat over a fire. The smell was strange, but not bad. Riva took a bite. Her eyes widened. It's good. Even Vecker tried it. He didn't speak, but he ate more. Later, Riva helped Tomo repair a broken fuel cell. She watched his hands, then tried to do what he did. She was careful, but slow. You're learning, Tomo said. I never fixed things before, she said. You are now. She looked at her fingers, blackened by wire dust. She smiled softly. That night, a strong wind hit the cave. Part of the roof cracked. A heavy stone fell toward one of the young Narari. Tomo jumped forward and pushed the child out of the way. The stone hit his back. He groaned but stayed on his feet. Blood ran down his side. Riva screamed, "You're hurt again." Tomo touched the wound. Just a cut. She helped him sit. He took out a skin patch and pressed it over the wound. It sealed in seconds. You do not stop. Riva whispered, "Can't afford to." He replied. She looked at him, really looked, not as a strange outsider, but as someone strong, someone who refused to give up. That night, while the others slept, Riva sat by the fire, thinking. Humans were different, but maybe different wasn't bad. Maybe different could be strong. The sun over Dust World burned hotter each day. The wind carried sand that stung the skin like tiny needles. Life here was hard. But Tomo didn't stop. He woke up early, worked all day, and slept late, even with a healing arm and bruises on his body. He stayed active. Inside the cave, the Narari began to change too. They watched Tomo build tools, fix broken parts, and cook strange food. Some began to copy him. Others still watched with silent fear. But all of them now saw that this human was not weak. Riva stood beside Tomo as he showed Kello how to sharpen a metal rod. This end is for grip. Tomo said, "Hold it tight. The point must stay strong. If it bends, fix it. Don't throw it away." Kello nodded. "Fix it. Don't fear it." Tomo smiled. Exactly. Riva was quiet, but she was learning too. She had always followed rules. Never touched broken parts. Never faced danger. But now, she helped carry stones, sort wires, and even stitched a torn sleeve. Her hands were rougher now. Her thoughts were changing. "You are teaching us things we never learned before," she told Tomo. "I'm not teaching," he said. "I'm surviving. You're choosing to learn." She looked down at her own hands. "Still, thank you." Days passed. The power in the cave ran low. The lights blinked. The machines slowed. The life support would not last forever. "We must do something," Riva said to the group. "The old mining station," Tomo replied. "I saw it on my scanner. 20 kilometers east. Might have fuel cells." 20 kilometers? Vecker asked. "That's far. And dangerous." Tomo looked at him. "So is sitting here doing nothing." Vecker frowned. He didn't like Tomo, but he had no answer. "I will go with you," Riva said. Tomo nodded. "Good. We'll need a cart. For parts, Kello. Can you help build it?" "Yes," Kello said quickly. The others watched in silence. Some wanted to go too, but fear held them back. The next morning, Tomo, Riva, and Kello set off with a small cart made of scrap metal and wheels. From broken drones, the land was rough. Rocks and sand slowed them down. But they kept walking. Tomo led the way. He moved steady, scanning the land with a small handheld device. "You really believe we'll find fuel?" Riva asked. "I believe in trying," he said. "If we fail, we learn. If we wait, we lose." They reached the old mining station just before sunset. The building was half buried in sand. The roof had holes inside. Broken machines sat in silence. Tomo walked in carefully. He used a flashlight to look around. "Watch for weak floors," he said. Kello found a power box with a few green lights still blinking. "There's still energy here." He shouted to Mel, opened a panel, and smiled. "Yes, enough to charge our systems for a few more weeks." They began removing small fuel cells and loading them into the cart. Tomo also found extra wires, sharp tools, and a heavy battery. "We'll take all we can carry," he said. They worked fast, but as they finished, the ground shook. "What was that?" Riva asked. Tomo's face grew serious. "I don't know, but it wasn't the wind." He looked outside. A strange shadow moved across the rocks. Suddenly, A loud screech echoed through the air. A huge creature climbed over the hill. It had 6 legs, long sharp claws, and eyes that glowed red. Its skin was dark and rough like rock. "What is that?" Kello shouted. "Big problem," Tomal said. The creature charged at them, fast and angry. Dust flew under its legs. Tomal grabbed a metal rod and stood in front of the others. "Stay behind me," he shouted. The beast struck with one claw. Tomal jumped aside and slammed the rod into its side. It roared but didn't stop. Riva threw a piece of sharp metal at its eye. It hit, and the beast screamed. Tomal used the moment to strike its leg. Breaking the joint, the creature fell, growling and thrashing. He pushed a power cell into its open wound and stepped back. "Get down," he yelled. The power cell exploded. The beast screamed one last time and went still. Smoke filled the air. They stood there, breathing hard, dust on their faces, scratches. On their arms, Kello was shaking. "That was close." Tomal nodded. "Next time, we bring better weapons." Riva looked at him, eyes wide. "You didn't stop. You didn't run." "Couldn't," he said. "You were behind me." Her voice was soft. "You protect like it's part of you." Tomal looked at the dead beast. "We don't always win, but we always stand." They returned to the cave with the fuel and tools. The Narari gathered around, surprised and amazed. "You fought a sand beast?" one asked. "You fixed the power," said another. Tomal said nothing. He just started connecting the fuel cells to the power line. Soon, the lights glowed again. The air system came back to life. The machines hummed stronger now. The Narari looked at each other. Then they looked at Tomal not as a stranger, but as a leader. Vecker said nothing. He just walked away. That night, the cave felt different, warmer, stronger. Kelo sat near the fire, looking at his hands. "I want to be like him," he said. "You can," Riva told him. "It starts with one step." Tomal sat quietly, sharpening his tools. His arm still hurt, but it was healing. Inside, he felt proud, but he didn't show it. He wasn't trying to be a hero. He was just a human who refused to break, and somehow, the Narari were starting to understand what that meant. Days passed after the mining station trip. The cave was brighter now. The air machines worked. The food was a little better, and most of all, the Narari began to change. Kello was no longer afraid to get hurt. He practiced with the spear Tomal had helped him make. Riva built tools, patched wires, and even helped fix a broken drone. Other Narari, still unsure, watched in silence, but they no longer turned away. Inside the cave, Tomal worked with a power core. His hand moved slowly. His arm had not fully healed, but he didn't stop. "You are not resting," Riva said, walking over him. "Can't rest yet," he said. "This core might power your water cleaner. You'll need it if help takes longer." She looked at the bruises on his arm. "Your bones are healing fast." Tomal nodded. "Bone patch is working. My body adjusts. Every break makes it a little stronger." "Why do humans accept pain?" she asked. Tomal wiped his hands. "Because pain teaches, pain builds. It tells you what your limits are and how to break past them." Riva didn't reply, but her eyes stayed on him. She was thinking about her people, her past, and maybe her future. That evening, a sound came from the far wall, a signal. Tomal ran to the comm device he had built from old parts. "It's human frequency," he said. "I boosted the signal last night. Maybe someone heard it." He listened. The voice was full of static, but clear enough. "Human patrol in nearby sector. Received signal. Investigating." Tomal smiled. "They're close. Maybe a few days out." Kello jumped up. "They're coming to save us." Tomal shook his head. "They'll come for me. They don't know about you." Riva looked worried. "Will they help the Narari? Maybe, if they know you're peaceful." "We are peaceful," she said quickly. Tomal gave her a slow look. "Then show them. Don't hide." The next morning, Tomal took Riva and Kello outside. The sun was bright, the wind calm. He pointed to the sky. "When the ship comes, it might scare your people. The human ship is big, loud. It may land fast. We're not used to human ships." Kello said, "That's why I'll go first," Tomal replied. Then I'll bring them to you. Riva nodded, but she looked uneasy. What if they see us as enemies? Then I'll speak for you, Tomal said. You helped me, you followed, you learned. That means something. She looked at the hills. What if they say no? Tomal turned to her. Then we build our own way. As they walked back to the cave, Tomal suddenly stopped. He crouched and touched the ground tracks. He whispered. Kelo knelt beside him. What kind of tracks? Tomal's eyes narrowed. Not beast. Not ours. These are boot prints, heavy, deep. Riva looked around. Someone else is here. Yes, Tomal said. Not human. Not Narari. Something else landed. They followed the tracks to a small ridge. On the other side, they saw it a small black ship half hidden behind rocks, a Varnik scout ship. The Varnik. Riva gasped. They are the ones who attacked our colony. They destroyed our signal towers. Tomal's face grew hard. They followed the same signal. Maybe they think something valuable is here. He pulled out his scanner. 3 live signs, one inside. The ship, to nearby, moving. We need to warn the others, Riva said. Tomal nodded. Go back fast. I'll watch the ship. No, Riva said. We go together. Tomal looked at her, surprised but proud. She wasn't the same Narari anymore. They returned to the cave quickly. Tomal gathered the group and explained. The Varnik are nearby, he said. They're enemies. If they find this cave, they will attack. What can we do? Vekar asked, standing at the back. We can't fight. Tomal looked at him. Then you'll lose everything. Kelo stood up. We can fight. We've trained. We have tools. Some Narari nodded. Some still looked afraid. Tomal didn't wait. He took out a piece of metal and drew lines in the dust. This is the path to the ship. Here's where we place traps, spikes, fire wires, trip lines. We make them slow down. Then we strike. Riva joined him. We'll protect our home, with or without the elders. Vekar stepped back. He had no more words. That night, under the stars, the Narari worked together. They placed sharp metal under the sand. They tied wires between rocks. They made small bombs using leftover power cells and cooking oil. Tomal moved among them, checking traps and giving tips. His body was tired, his wounds still healing, but his spirit was strong. This is your land, he told them. You know the ground. Use it. By morning, they were ready. The first Varnik scout walked into a tripwire. A blast of heat knocked him down. The second one turned, but stepped on a hidden spike. He screamed and fell. The last Varnik ran toward the cave with a weapon in hand. Tomal charged forward. The Varnik was taller and stronger, but Tomal was faster. They clashed. The Varnik fired a shot that hit Tomal's side. Pain exploded in his ribs, but Tomal didn't fall. He grabbed a pipe and swung it into the alien's helmet. The Varnik staggered. Riva ran up and struck with a spear right through the chest. The alien fell. Tomal dropped to his knees, breathing hard. Blood on his side. Smoke in the air. Riva held him. You're hurt again. He smiled. I'll fix it. You always say that, and it's always true. Later, after the fire was out and the bodies were buried, the Narari gathered around. We protected our own, Kelo said proudly. For the first time, someone added. Tomal sat near the wall, pressing a patch to his side. His body was broken again, but he didn't mind. Each break made him stronger. And now, he wasn't the only one who believed it. The Narari had learned something new, not just from tools or words, but from courage, from pain, from rising again after falling, just like a human. The sun rose over Dust World, casting long shadows on the sand. The wind blew gently now. The air felt quiet but not empty. Something had changed inside the cave. The Narari moved with new purpose. They were not just hiding anymore. They were fixing, building, and standing tall. The fight with the Varnik had awakened something inside them. Tomal sat near the edge of the cave. His side was wrapped with a healing patch. His ribs still hurt, but he was smiling. Kelo ran over, holding a small device. We fixed the scanner. He shouted. It works again. Tomal looked at it. The screen was blinking. Nice work. Riva came behind Kelo. Her hands were covered in dust and grease. We also finished the auto turret. It turns, it shoots, and it works. Tomel nodded. You're becoming engineers now. Riva gave a small smile. We learned from someone strong. Tomel stood up slowly. His legs felt stiff, but he could walk fine. When you fix something, he said, you also fix a part of yourself. That's what I believe. Riva looked at the horizon. The human ship will come soon, right? Tomel checked his signal. Yes, less than 1 day. She grew quiet. Will they accept us? They might be surprised. Tomel said, but if they see what you've become, they'll respect you. Later that day, the Narari gathered near the main tunnel. They had created a defense system using pieces from the mining station and the wrecked ships. A large turret stood on a metal stand. Spikes had been placed in the sand. Energy nets were stretched between rocks. VKAR stood beside Tomel. The elder, Narari, once afraid, now looked different. His robe was torn. His hands were dirty. I was wrong about you, Vecker said quietly. You did not break us. You made us stronger. Tomel shook his head. You made yourselves stronger. I just showed another way. Vecker looked at the other Narari, some young, some old, all working, building, standing tall. We forgot how to grow. We lived in fear. But now, I see what courage looks like. Tomel said nothing. He just nodded. That night, the stars were clear. Dust-swirled sky sparkled like a sea of lights. Tomel couldn't sleep. He walked outside the cave and looked up. His ribs still ached. His arm was almost fully healed now. He moved it slowly, testing the strength. Riva joined him. She stood beside him, quiet and calm. You've been through much, she said. Yeah, Tomel replied. But I'm still here. She looked at him. You broke your arm. You bled. You were hit. But you never gave up. Tomel smiled faintly. I wasn't made to give up. Riva stared at his face. Why? He thought for a moment. Because someone has to stand when others fall. If I fall too, who will protect them? She looked away. Then back. You fight like a builder. You protect like a shield. I'm just human, he said. You're more than that. The next morning, the sky changed. A large shadow moved across the land. A ship appeared, silver, long, with blue engines glowing. Tomel stepped forward. That's a human patrol ship. The Narari gathered behind him. Some looked scared. Others were ready. The ship hovered above the cave, then slowly lowered. Dust flew in every direction. A loud hum filled the air. The ramp opened, and armored humans stepped out. Their suits were heavy, their faces hidden behind dark helmets. One stepped forward. Identify. Tomel raised a hand. Tomel, scout pilot. Ship crashed 2 weeks ago. The human tilted his head. You're injured. Healing, Tomel said. I'm fine. The officer looked at the Narari behind Tomel. His voice grew sharp. Are they enemies? Tomel shook his head. No, they're survivors. They helped me. We defended this place together. The human looked unsure. Alien contact is risky. You could have been taken. I wasn't. I was helped. Tomel said. They didn't run. They stood with me. They learned from me. They became stronger. Riva stepped forward. She kept her hands open and calm. We are Narari, she said. We feared pain. We feared war. But now, we've changed. Because of him? The officer looked around. He saw the traps, the machines, the weapons clearly made with skill and effort. You built all this? Riva nodded. Yes, together. The officer turned back to Tomel. They fight, yes, when it matters. Tomel said, they're not weak, not anymore. The officer was silent. Then he spoke into his comm. Base. This is patrol team. Human confirmed. Alien group peaceful. Situation stable. A voice replied through static. Understood. Prepare for extraction. Tomel. Turn to the Narari. They'll bring supplies. Maybe even help rebuild. Riva stepped close. You're leaving? Tomel looked at the sky. For now, I need to report. Tell the others about what happened here. You'll return, she asked. If you want me to, he said. She smiled. We do. Kello ran forward. Will you teach us more? Tomel patted his shoulder. You already know enough. Just keep going. Vecker bowed his head. Thank you. Tomel of Earth, you helped us become something more. Tomel shook his head. You helped yourselves. As the sun rose higher, the humans began loading Tomel onto the ship. He looked back one last time. The Narari stood in a line taller now, stronger, proud. He waved. Riva raised her hand in return. The ship lifted slowly into the sky. Dust swirled below. Tomel leaned back in his seat, tired but satisfied. One of the human crew asked, "So, what did you do out there?" Tomel closed his eyes. "I broke," he said. "Then I got stronger." The ship flew into the sky, leaving behind a world that would never be the same again. The stars outside the window of the patrol ship glowed softly. Tomel sat in a quiet corner, watching them. His body was sore, but healing well. His arm now moved like before. The healing gel the crew applied had sped up the process. He had been away from Dust World for only 2 days, but it already felt like a dream. Captain Wren walked over. He was a tall man with short gray hair and calm eyes. "You've been quiet since we left the planet," Wren said. Tomel nodded. "Just thinking." Wren sat across from him. "I read your report. What you did down there. It's not standard protocol." "I know," Tomel said. "You trained aliens. You shared technology. You stayed after your ship was destroyed." Tomel met his eyes. "I survived. And they survived because we worked together. They didn't need orders. They needed hope." Wren leaned back. "The council won't like that part." Tomel shrugged. "Let them not like it. The truth doesn't change." Wren smiled a little. "Still, your report was clear. The Narari were peaceful. Then, they learned to fight not with hate, but with purpose." Tomel nodded. "They were afraid of pain. But pain taught them not to destroy, but to grow." The captain looked thoughtful. "Maybe we can learn something from that too." Back on Dust World, the Narari kept building. Riva stood at the front of a small gathering. The sand had been cleared, and a new structure was rising, smooth walls made from stone and metal. It was the start of something new. "We don't need to hide anymore," Riva said. "This will be our new home." Kello cheered. "We'll call it shelter too." "No," Riva said, shaking her head. "This place is not just a shelter. It's where we start living without fear. We'll call it Horizon." The others nodded. The name felt right. Vecker came forward, carrying a box of tools. "We finished the energy grid. Soon, we'll have power." Riva smiled. "Good. We'll be ready when Tomel returns." 2 more days passed. Tomel now stood in a white room on Station Vale, orbiting near Earth. Around him were 5 high-ranking officers from Human Command. They sat behind a long glass table, reading his file on digital screens. The one in the center, Admiral Soren, looked up. "Your actions broke at least 3 rules, possibly more." "I understand," Tomel said calmly. "You gave knowledge to a pre-space race. You shared combat tech. You led them into battle." "Yes." The Admiral narrowed his eyes. "Why?" Tomel spoke without fear. "Because it was the right thing to do. If I had waited for orders, I'd be dead. They'd be dead. The Varnick would." The sun was setting over Dust World again. The red sky slowly turned dark purple. Horizon. The new Narari home stood strong now. Towers rose from the rocks. Walls were lined with power coils. Machines hummed gently. The Narari people had changed. They walked tall. They worked hard. They smiled more now. They were no longer just soft people hiding in caves. Riva stood at the highest tower. She looked across the land. Her robe was gone. Now she wore strong cloth, thick boots, and a tool belt. The signal light blinked on the tower. She watched it with hope in her heart. Then she heard the sound, a distant hum, getting louder. She smiled. "He's here." Tomel's new ship landed with soft dust blowing in every direction. It was small, but fast. Markings on the side showed. It was an Explorer class, fitted with survival gear and upgraded armor. The ship's door opened. Tomel stepped out slowly. He wore dark armor, light and flexible. A new brace covered his old injury, but he moved easily now. Riva walked up to him. "Took you long enough." Tomel smiled. "Had to convince a few people that helping others isn't a crime." You convinced them? Not really, he said. They just realized I wouldn't stop. Riva laughed. You still fix yourself when you break. I try. But now I have better tools. She nodded and walked beside him into the city. Tomo walked through Horizon everywhere he looked. He saw progress. The Nerari had built houses, workshops, training areas. Even young ones were learning to use simple tools. They've done well, he said. You started it, Riva replied. But they finished it. Kello ran up, now taller, wearing a vest with a scanner on his arm. Tomo, come see the drone we built. He pulled Tomo to a work area where small flying bots hovered and beeped. Tomo watched with a proud smile. These fly like birds, Kello said. They find food, water, and weak spots in stone. Tomo picked one up and examined it. Smart design. Light, fast, and useful. We learn from you. Kello said, when you fix something, it stays fixed. Tomo handed it back. No, when you build something, it keeps growing. Later that night, Riva showed Tomo the control room. A new defense grid circled the area. It wasn't for war but for warning, watching, and protecting. Still think we need these? She asked. Yes, Tomo said. Not for fear, for readiness. Riva looked out the window. We don't want to fight, but we won't run again. Tomo nodded. That's not weakness, that's wisdom. Suddenly, the screen flashed red. Incoming ship. Anonkolo's voice came over the speaker. 1. Ship, not human, not Nerari. Approaching fast, Tomo and Riva rushed outside. A dark silver ship appeared in the sky. It was Varnic designed, sleek, sharp, and silent. It hovered above Horizon. The Nerari gathered, alert but calm. Tomo raised his arm and spoke into his wrist device. This is Human Scout Tomo. State your purpose. No reply. The ship slowly lowered. Then a platform opened underneath. A figure floated down. It was a Varnic, but not like the warriors from before. This one had no armor, no weapons. Just simple clothes and strange glowing eyes. I'm Renok, the Varnic said. I watched what you did here. Tomo didn't lower his guard. And you broke rules, Renok said. You taught the weak to be strong. Tomo stood firm. I gave them what they already had, courage. Renok looked around. This place is not like the rest of the galaxy. It is growing in a new way. Riva stepped forward. This is our home, and we protect it now. Renok stared at her. You were not meant to fight. She raised her hand. We are not fighting. We are surviving. There was silence. Then Renok nodded slowly. Perhaps that is the upgrade we never understood. He turned and floated back to his ship. No shots fired. No war. Just a message. The next morning, Tomo sat under a metal archway, watching the sun rise. Riva joined him. You think they'll come back? She asked. Maybe, he said. But next time, they'll talk first, because they're afraid? No, because they saw something new, something stronger than war. Riva smiled. Like setting your own bone. Tomo laughed softly. Exactly. She looked at him. Will you stay this time? I have to leave again, he said. There are others out there, others who don't know they can build when they break. But you'll return. He nodded. Always. As the day began, the Nerari worked again. Machines buzzed. Hammers tapped. Voices sang. Tomo's ship rose into the sky, leaving behind hope, strength, and the start of a better world. In the hearts of the Nerari, one lesson remained. When something breaks, it is not the end. It is the beginning of something stronger.